Have you ever noticed that some people bounce back from failure faster than others? They just don't let it stick. Just yesterday, I was watching the Steelers play the Ravens, Sunday Night Football, and Tyler Loop, the kicker, missed a game winner. Buddy shared a video with me where John Harbaugh is walking to the locker room, and he's got his arm comforting, consoling the kicker. And Tyler Loop is a good kicker. I checked his stats. He'd only missed 3 field goals. That was the third field goal he had missed all year. In those kinds of situations, because the Ravens don't make the playoffs, the Steelers do, and those kinds of situations make people or they break people. He could use that as fuel to have a really successful career. I think he's played in the NFL for 2 or 3 years. Or it could be something that just demoralizes him. I think he's going to do great. I think he's a great kicker. I'm cheering for him. And I love that. There's so many examples of leadership there. That the one thing that leaders do is they think long term. They have a way to focus on the future that motivates them to get through the here and now. Because as I see with entrepreneurs and people that succeed, is they go through a lot of crap. They have a lot of failures and a lot of rejection and a lot of things that don't go their way. And I define a failure as something that just didn't go your way. I have this list that I look at times, and I call it Adam's failures. I had in college this poster on my wall, and it was given to me by a close family member once. That's inspiring to me. It was inspiring to me, still inspiring to me. It's called Lincoln's Failures. And it was this list of all the ways that Lincoln had failed in his life and then ultimately had great success. But he had a lot of failure. And so my failure list at times when I focus on it, it motivates me. Why? Because I can look and say, I got through that. I can get through this. This isn't as hard. So on my list, I have things like unemployment for 7 months. I have losing infertility, a failed marriage, going through trauma, abandonment, betrayal, just feeling isolated and alone. And I can go on. I'm not going to, but the reason it motivates me is I realize that this thing now that I'm facing is not as bad as it could be. Because what didn't make Adam's failures list is things that, almost financial failure, but not quite. I got through that. And so almost, I haven't had major health issues, things I'm really grateful for as well. I'm not in prison, thank God. I shouldn't be, don't get me wrong, but I'm not. Things could be worse, and I am grateful for what I have. It gives me a chance to absorb all the good things that I have in my life. So I want to go ahead and dive into this topic. It's most leaders think short term, but here are 3 ways you can play the long game, which will make have a huge impact on your life. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Adam Gragg. I'm a coach and a family therapist, and I founded Decide Your Legacy in 2012. And we help leaders and their teams face the issues that they are avoiding. And so leaders, you know what I'm talking about. We avoid things in our lives so you can take productive action and make long-term progress, changes that stick. From my point of view, everybody's a leader. You have influence. I don't care if you're 12, if you're 18, I don't care if you're not in a leadership position by title, you have an opportunity to have an influence. And just so you know, this podcast is a great example of how you can play the long game because I've been doing this for over 5 years. I've quit 3 times. This is the 185th episode. And just yesterday, I had my highest daily downloads of all time. The first time we've ever gotten into the multi-hundreds on a day ever, period. And we're over 2,500 downloads, maybe 3,000 per month average, which is a big deal. So doing it a long time, but no one sees the amount of frustration and discouragement that I have gone through to keep this thing going. And no one sees how much inner turmoil I have and insecurity I have when I get up here and speak, that I don't want to actually, Troy can see it. So the podcast producer can see it, but people don't see the struggle. They don't see, and they don't even remember the missed kicks that Tyler Loop had when he has a successful career, or the interceptions that people have thrown, or the failures. So I share this to encourage you. 3 ways you can play the long game and stick it out. People that have great success, they think of this big future ahead, and they're willing to deal with the struggle today because they have the big future there. Parents do this. When we look at our kids, I do this as a dad. I look and I think 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, which makes me overreactive sometimes because I think that's going to derail things. You do that too much, it's not going to be good. But the reality is that we are playing the long game as parents. And so we're able to deal with the difficult today. If we're a focused parent, if we're the kind of parent that I want everyone to be listening, we're thinking about the long game. Recently, and I like to share something that in my life has happened that I faced, that because nothing is more important for you and your mental health than facing your fears. Nothing is more damaging than playing it safe, not doing the difficult stuff in your life. So here's what I did. And again, I am the biggest hypocrite of all time because I talk about this stuff and I don't practice. I do practice a lot of it, but I struggle and I have anxiety. I have insecurity. So I've struggled with having a long-term 10-year vision. I challenge companies and clients to have this, but I struggle myself. Yeah, I have one. It's written down, but do I really step back and go deep? And so recently I've stepped back and gone deep, and I've been articulating where I want to be in my life in 10 years, where I want the company to be in 10 years. And it's kind of scary for me because now I can fail. And if I share this with people, then I think they can judge me if I don't get there. But again, your vision is something that illuminates the right path. You set the right goals today based on this vision that you want to achieve. It helps you to push through and have this long game mentality. When we articulate it, it gives us excitement and passion. But here's the big deal with a vision. Do not be perfectionistic about it. It's going to change, but it's still orienting your path. You're never going to actually get there, but it's still giving you something to aim at. You want to actually have that. And this is, as we talk today, we're talking about making 3 decisions that will help you to play the long game as a leader. So here's the first decision. Number 1 is admit that you are afraid. I talk to leaders at times, and they have this fake facade that they carry that is expressing to the world that they're not afraid of anything. And even my very first coach, professional coach, when I first started Decide Your Legacy, he gave me the advice of don't share with other people that you're struggling with building business. Portray, if they ask you how business is going, tell them it's going great. And I don't think that was the best advice because what I have found with clients is that when I share my struggles and I'm real with an orientation of confidence, they're drawn to that because they see that it's not always going well. But I have to present that with an attitude of hope that it's going to get better and I'm making progress and I'm learning and growing through the whole process of failure. If things not going my way, that conveys inspiration and gives people hope. So be willing to admit that you're struggling. Be willing to admit that you don't want to fail. Be willing to admit, and here's the deal, is that there's some danger in your life that if you don't face it, there's going to be consequences because danger that you identify can motivate you. When we don't admit our emotional struggles and we're not identifying what they actually are, they have much more danger in our life because at that point we don't admit and we don't identify its ambiguity, the real struggle. So you want to be able to admit it, and then you create a plan to focus on it, and then you create a situation where you're taking action. So you will connect with others through your failure. I promise you that. Sometimes I'm just shocked by it because I still don't want to admit it. But even this morning, I shared with a client something that didn't go well. And I could tell that opened up the whole conversation that was much more positive than I thought it would actually be. And the failure was how I had handled some family situations because they're struggling with a similar kind of thing. And that family situation that I shared was that I addressed some issues with my parents and it became a crap show. I think I can say that. It became an emotional powder keg that didn't go well for about 20 minutes. And I didn't handle it well. I didn't approach it right. And I was kind of going to catastrophe mode. It ended up being a good conversation, but it didn't start off that way. And I share that, and I shared it with this client because, hey, we can still, good things can come out of difficult situations. So you want to realize that fear is not weakness. It's actually showing you what you can push through to grow, because on the other side is the confidence and the capabilities and the new strengths that we identify because we push through and we see that we can handle this very difficult thing in our lives. So the second decision to make to play the long game is when you do have things that don't go your way, make sure that you gather the lessons from that experience. What did you learn? What can you alter and change? What can you use as fuel to push through? So Tyler Loop missed a game-winning field goal. I would highly encourage him to step back and gather the lessons from this. What was it? And the lesson may be that he's never going to be perfect, and he has to let go of the expectation of perfection. Maybe it is that he changes some things about his approach in a game-winning situation. I don't know what it would be, but there are lessons there. And there are people that will support him if he engages them and if he doesn't get stuck in the past and he sees it as fuel to move forward. All the lessons you can learn. When I was unemployed for 7 months back in 2008, 2009, I mean, there were a lot of lessons for me to learn there. And it took me a while to learn them because it was 3 months of very difficult, challenging, emotional stuff for me. So, but then eventually I started to have hope. It fueled my career coaching focus for a period of my time. It gave me a lot of confidence in dealing with people going through challenging situations. It helped me to help other people. The setbacks become your fuel. They help you to shift your perspective regarding that situation. Who knows? I mean, I'm lighter in situations, more lighthearted in situations that would have stressed me out years ago. I'm more lighthearted when I deal with difficult situations like losing an employee. I've had employees resign in my career, owning a business, and it can be very discouraging. And at times it would derail me. And recently I had a situation that I wish wouldn't have happened. And I know there's a lot of lessons that I'm learning in the situation, but I've realized that if I learn those lessons, it's going to be better the next time. And I am learning lessons. It didn't derail me the same way it had in the past. I was able to bounce back from it and handle it, which is really exciting and encouraging to me. So you focus on the lessons, and those failures are less powerful. So I look at my list of failures in my life, which, hiring decisions or leadership decisions, failures I've had as a leader where I haven't done the best job and I haven't helped people succeed the way I want to. I think my heart is in the right place, but I haven't always done the best job. So I can look at those and say, this is going to be something that I can learn from as I hire new people. I don't want to make those same mistakes again. And the reality is I am going to make some of those same mistakes again, but not at the same level. That's where it's a real failure, when we make the same mistakes at the same level that we made them before. Because some mistakes, they're habitual. We're very habitual people that do things, but our effort, our heart to change is there. So the third decision that will help you to play the long game as a leader is after things don't go your way, have a plan to get out of it. So you know that things aren't going to go your way in every situation. You know that you're not going to hit a home run every time. You know that, in fact, as a business owner and leader, as a parent, maybe 80% of the time you're doing things in a way that you look back and say, I would have done it differently. So it didn't go just as you had hoped it would have gone. But as you engage these things where you know you could fail, you have a plan to get out of it so you're not stuck in it. You're not stuck in your head. You're not stuck in doing the same old song and dance that you did before. And then you know that you can get through it. I mean, I'm energized when I know that if I have these failures in my life, I got a plan to get out of it because I've gotten out of things before in the past. And I can get out of this thing in the future. And having started a business 13 years ago, I know that there's going to be discouraging situations that happen. I'm going to lose employees, or I'm going to have contracts that have challenges to them to maintain. I'm going to feel is a really key thing here, feel like a failure, but what am I going to do to get out of it? So my plan to get out of these very difficult situations where I feel like a failure is I go on a run. I have this game plan. I go on a run, and I have certain books that I listen to on that run that encourage me. I know that when I have a failure, I'm going to go work out. Things don't go my way. I'm going to get to the gym. Well, go on a run or get to the gym. I know that there are going to be certain people that I will call at that point. And a lot of them are business owners that I'll text and say, didn't go my way. And I know from those people, there's an attitude of empathy. It's going to get better. You're going to be okay. Or, good job, man. You gained some valuable information. You were in the game and you did it. It didn't go your way this time, but you learned some things that are going to help it go your way next time. So we get back in the game, and that plan will help us to get back in the game. So another go-to for me is to journal. And you can check out an episode that's pretty popular right now. It's a few episodes back, maybe 5, 6, 7 episodes back, but it's on journaling. I encourage you to check that out, and I'll link to that in the show notes as well. So one thing that is, pretty amazing to me is I have this buddy, his name's Brian, and he started a business, and he's in the first year of going in at it full time. So when we touch base, we're good friends. So anyway, I called him today, in fact, and I said, how's it going? And he said, well, some good, some bad. He wasn't it was good because he has a humble attitude about the whole thing, and that's going to keep him staying in the game because it has gone well in many regards for him, and it has had challenges in many regards for him. Just like a 13-year-old business has challenges, but a little different when it's a brand new business and you're relying on it as your sole income, because that's a big point where you can actually pay your own salary through your small business. So, but as I was talking to him, I thought, Brian's a guy who does have a plan when things don't go as well his way. He's a guy that talks and reaches out, and he's open about the challenges that he faces. He doesn't try to sugarcoat it. He has a plan, and he is a learner where every time he's learning how to sell, he's learning how to manage, he's learning how to organize his systems and everything. He's taking notes, and just watching him, he's gleaning some things from every situation, I believe. Well, maybe not every, but from the majority of the situations he's facing that are discouraging. He's getting a lesson from that. And he's admitting that he's apprehensive. He's not using the word I'm afraid or scared, but admitting that I got to face this thing and I need help and encouragement from my friends to face this. And I know he's going to be successful as he keeps that going because he's passionate about what he does, which is really encouraging. And that's cool because that long-term game is going to keep you going. Now, something that happened to me on Christmas, and this was real encouraging to me, is I got a letter from my daughter. And the letter was the best gift that I got for Christmas. And I've read it probably 5 times now, and I'm going to keep reading it. I want to read it to you because I want to share with you. It summarizes everything we're talking about here about playing the long game, because at times as a dad, I have not felt like things are sticking. And at times as a dad, I have not felt like I'm making a difference or I'm having the connection that I want with my daughter. And at times, I'm wrong. So I'm very wrong, in fact, at times. And the letter that she wrote me, I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, Dad. And it has a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Her name is Emerson, and she's passionate about Ralph Waldo Emerson too. I didn't do that. That was her deal. And I think she went to see his gravesite not too long ago because it's not far from where she goes to school in Boston, in the Boston area. She said, this quote was, what are you afraid of? What you are afraid to do is a clear indicator of the next thing that you need to do. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Very cool. And then she wrote a note. She says, this quote highlights a huge lesson you have taught me. Run towards fear, not away. There have been so many occurrences in college where I have been fearful, but then I remind myself of all the things I have done in my life that have been scary and how a majority of them have been some of the best choices I have ever made. I remember doing scary things because you would make me. I don't think I ever really made her, but I remember I would bribe her, yes, but no, I didn't make her. But I remember doing scary things that because you would make me and I would hate it, but come out the other side completely enamored. The fear was just direction, and you taught me to embrace it, not run, even when running is easy. I love you, Dad, Emerson. Very cool. So in summary, if you want to have that mentality of playing the long game as a dad, as a business owner, because you know the good things are on the other side, you want to make sure that you admit that you have fear, you're not perfect, and that you need other people to help you. And they will, all these resources, as you admit it, will come to you. Will come and people will relate to you. You want to make sure you gather the lessons every time you step out and make that decision so you don't make it again at the same level, and then have a plan after it doesn't go your way so you can reach out and get support so you can push through. And people want to support you as well. You're not alone. You're not isolated. We entrepreneurs, we can talk like everything's going well, but it's not. And we can celebrate and we cannot celebrate. We got to do both. We got to talk about what's going well, what's not going well. We got to celebrate the wins. And that's hard for me to do. I don't always celebrate it because I don't want to seem whatever. Here's my deal is I don't want to celebrate my wins a lot of times because I think it's going to jinx it. I do. Or I think because I celebrate it, it's going to fall apart. That's what happens to me. And it's not really true. So I've had some wins and I celebrated one and I'm still trying to celebrate better. So take action on this. Now, other thing about the Decide Your Legacy podcast is we need your help to help it grow even more. So please subscribe and share. Just think of one friend and say, check this out. Like, just listen to this podcast, a small little podunk podcast, and check it out. I really would encourage, that will help it grow. I need your help on this thing. That's why I'm sharing. I mean, it has had recent success. This year's been great, or last year was great, huge progress, but I need your help. So subscribe, give it a rating and review, Apple or Spotify. And now think about something from this podcast that you want to apply. And I would encourage you to apply it by the end of the day today. What little lesson, what piece of inspiration? Maybe you need to clarify that 10-year vision. Maybe you need to go ahead and create your plan after things don't go your way. Maybe you need to go ahead and admit the fact that you're struggling with somebody. 80% of change is action. Only 20% is insight. You gained insight today by listening, but you haven't taken action yet. I don't really know if you will. But if you do take action, which I'm encouraging you to do, share with me. Comment on the YouTube channel underneath that episode. We post every episode, full video on YouTube. Give us some feedback on this thing and share with us what other episodes you might want us to actually produce on this topic or another topic, because we need some ideas on what you want to hear. And just to remember, the word decide means a lot to me. That means eliminating other options. We have lots of different options. But you're like, I want to do this. I'm going to commit. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot, go in this direction. Your legacy is like how your life impacts other people. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want people to be impacted by your life? Do you want to be and live this full life that has huge impact? There's no positive change until you decide to change. Decide today, because really your legacy depends on it. So I'm going to close out today the way I always do. Live the life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see you next time.